Well,
Thank you for having me.
I hope you had my very long introduction about the concerns of those who are praising President Tinubu at midterm and those who say that he is weaponizing poverty. In fact, only yesterday, Rotimi Amechi, former minister, former governor, had to say that the president is violating the rule of law and that, in fact, he must give account to Nigerians on the issue of fuel subsidy savings and so on and so forth. You know the narrative. He even issued a statement. I don't want to quote your own statement to you. What's your take?
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now, this president in 2 years, as I have maintained, has done more than all of the presidents before him in the direction of reordering our priorities, tackling some of the most acerbic challenges faced by the economy of our country. He has decided that it's not about just looking for cheap popularity, but willing to do the tough things that may momentarily seem unpopular, but are decidedly crucial to the long-term good health of our country's economy. So all of the hue and cry by members of the opposition, whether it's Rotimi Amechi or former Vice President Atiku Abubakar or former Kaduna Governor Malam Rufai, don't begin to cut it. The president is focused on dealing with matters that guarantee the long-term, health of our country. Now, you see, what is funny is that all of these voices put together don't even begin to speak to what they think this president should be doing different from what he's doing. Not one of them has come forward with any kind of informed prescription of what the president should be doing, because they know in their hearts, outside of just politicking, that the president is doing exactly what any right-thinking president would do. They know that. This morning, just earlier, a couple of hours ago, I had an appearance this morning at 7 a.m. on Channels TV, side by side with Mr. Yunus Atanko, the Obidati, spokesperson. And a question was put to him to say, look, in all of your criticism of this president, what exactly would your principal, have done differently? He was very short in his answer. I won't go about saying what he said. But the point I'm making is that it's not enough when I ask you, Dr. Bati, what's your name? And you tell me I'm not Felix Morka. That is not an answer to the question. Tell me your name is Dr. Bati, that we know. Telling me you're not Felix Morka is not an offer of information about who you are. Now, when these characters in the opposition decide that all they have to offer Nigerians as an alternative is to condemn President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his policies, and they think that that's sufficient to sway these nearly 300 million Nigerians who are smart and discerning, that this president has not done well, you see, I think they need to go back to the table and think more clearly. As far as we're concerned, this president, whether it's the 30-kilometer launch that you referenced, why not? When have we ever, as a country, embarked on a project that critical and that ambitious to build a coastal highway, round, through from Lagos all the way to Calabar? We haven't had that. We have had the Lagos-Ore Expressway, and we know, being just the single, artery of, road infrastructure that links, the southwest to the southeast, we know the pressure and the burden that has imposed on, transportation of goods and services. We have a president that is saying, look, time has come to do something drastically different, to set Nigeria straight and position this country for growth and sustainable progress. By embarking on that, even if it's 1 kilometer that was, launched, it is, again, an acknowledgement of progress. And there's nothing wrong, Dr. Abati, with acknowledging progress. Nobody is saying that the 700-kilometer road has been fully built. 30 kilometers is a step along that way. And, inch by inch, kilometer by kilometer, with time, one day, you and I, hopefully, I look forward to a day when we both go to some of those, beautiful carnivals in Calabar, and you and I, Dr. Abati, will be in a vehicle cruising down on that road to Calabar, seamlessly. I think that, we must wish our country well and
Absolutely.
Be optimistic beyond politics and beyond this whole, drama of the opposition. We must, again, celebrate some of these milestones that this president has enacted.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Moka. You've used the drama of the opposition. At some point as well, you also said that the opposition has nothing more to offer beyond condemning the president, and you've said that you think they should go back to the drawing board. So my question is this the argument for state capture? Because some of the criticism that is coming is that there's state capture specifically where INEC is concerned. There are some reports that saying over 70 groups have attempted to register their political parties and that INEC is just sitting on them. And the assumption is that this is from a directive to stifle opposition voices that are trying to register parties that can pose to be some type of opposition or, legitimate opposition to this presidency. What's your take on this conversation around state capture in the electoral institutions?
Idle speculation. Vimbai, look, we can do better than this. INEC is, a statutory institution created by law, handed a clear mandate to regulate whether it's political parties or to manage our electoral process. We cannot second guess that. INEC will deal with applications for registration of political parties based on legal criteria. It's not a political process. And INEC is a statutory authority, meaning that INEC is a compellable agency. If there's anyone who has attempted to register a political party who has been unfairly denied that facility to register, and they believe that INEC has ignored clear legal standards which they have met to register their party. Look, I'm a lawyer, and a senior lawyer for that matter. If I were in that position, I would take out a writ of mandamus to compel INEC to do its job. It's not enough for people to just bandy allegations around. Somebody wants to register a political party, has not met the standards, has not met the requirements, and comes to a national television or to I put out a statement to say that, look, we're being denied. Nobody's been denied. If you are sat, you must prove. If you think INEC is denying you unfairly, or that INEC is pandering to some executive or whatever instruction or manipulation, you must show evidence of that. And it's not that hard to show evidence of such a thing. So it's not enough to just come to Nigeria and say, look, we're being denied, when in fact you may not have met even the simple threshold requirement that qualifies you to be registered. And you think INEC will register you because, INEC wants to be, to pander to some, sentiments or emotions. That is not how it works. It doesn't work like that in Nigeria, and it doesn't work like that anywhere else. So I think that those who make that suggestion should really go back and figure out what they're doing wrong. If they think they've met the standards, like I said, they need to, take on INEC. They should go to court and compel INEC to do its job. That's INEC has statutory enforceable, duties that they should perform. So I don't buy that, I think Nigerians don't buy that, quite frankly.
Mr. Moka, Rufai Oseni here.
Yes. Yes, my dear brother.
Mr. Moka.
Rufai, how are you?
Very well. You said that the other political parties have not brought forward any, objection or any road plan of some sort or road map of their own ideas and solutions to the problem at hand. What you said is not correct. I will refer you to Punch newspaper, 29th May 2024, where Atiku Abubakar offered 6 ways to remodel Tinubu's policy. And you can check that reportage on that document. And where he pointed out his own point of view as regards the reforms, saying that they were not properly implemented, they were not properly addressed. Take, for instance, what he said in that document. Number one, he talked about the fact that we have floated the currency, but we've not had commensurate effects because the way these policies were being marshaled out, that the benefit of floating the currency was supposed to gain advantage with our local productive industry. But we are not gaining that advantage because productivity is at an all-time low. What are the ancillary things, what are the ancillary, beg your pardon, things to add to that productive capacity to be able to make us gain the benefit of a cheap naira, as it were? Number one. Secondly, you talked about the coastal road that has a lot of transparency problem. A minister from the APC government sat down here just last week and affirmed to us that there was no independent competitive bidding process, that the contract was given to a company because they had worked in the past as regards a project that centered around the states where the president was governor, which is a violation of many laws of competitive bidding in the country. He said it, not my words. I also did ask for cost per kilometer of the project concluded. He said he will have to iterate the cost. But he said the first project cost they iterated was supposed to be 4 billion per kilometer, but I'm asking for the concluded cost per kilometer, which is a case of transparency issues. Leading up to that coastal road, we also talked about EIA and other sundry problems around the coastal road. The increase in electricity tariff, which my colleague Vimbai reported today, has led to people that can even afford increased tariff to go to other forms and go off the grid. So these are the multiple problems on ground. And you can also check that reportage of 29 May 2024, where Atiku Abubakar responded to all these things boldly, sir.
I take it that you're done with
Yes,
your
sir.
question.
Yes, sir.
My dear brother Rufai, May 2024, if the date you cited is correct, was just about 1 year of the president's inauguration as president of the Federal Republic. And Atiku Abubakar, quite frankly, I'm not familiar with, whatever documentation or suggestions of alternatives that, Atiku Abubakar, made. But what I do know, and I would think what Nigerians know, is that Mr. Alhaji Abubakar, the former vice president, in his campaign for the office of president in the 2023 electoral cycle, was very clear that he would take out fuel subsidy. Rufai, there's no romantic way to remove any system of dependency of anything. If you bring your friend to live in your house for 10 years without rent-free, and you provide him breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the day you decide that you need that space and you need him out to go commercial and rent his own space, I bet you that individual, even if he doesn't tell you, will feel like you are putting him out into the cold because he's become accustomed to living, life in your home for free. There's no way, all of these stories, told by everybody and by anybody, whether it's Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi or, even my bosom friend, Professor Patu told me about how, President Tinubu could have, done the subsidy in a way that is, very, romantic. And look, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. It's about relative impact. What is important is that there was the need, the real self-evident need for us to tackle those problems. And I think that in fairness to even some of the opposition figures, they too were very clear that they would do the same thing. Now, this revisionist idea, what you call alternative, suggestions by Atiku Abubakar, now because, in hindsight, 1 year later, you are not the president, you campaigned to be president, you were not elected, and the man who became president is enacting policies that, clearly, are superior even to your attempt to, suggest, a policy position. You now begin to second guess and, talk about, maybe you should have been done 6 months later or 3 months later or done with this and that. Look, all that is neither here nor there. What we are dealing with today, and I think that the result of this president's, bold, strategic intervention, demonstration of political will to tackle that elephant in the room that was sitting there for decades, that no president before him had the audacity and the political will to tackle, that I think is, worth celebrating, because it set this country at a fundamental level straight. It's provided opportunity for us to rise beyond all of this, quibblings and tweaking of, systems. Point is, our economy is doing better, never has been stronger. The macroeconomic evidence is there. You on this station, I watch you every day and I hear you, say them. But, yes, whether we want to acknowledge them the way we should acknowledge them is a different matter. But, I think everyone is clear. International institutions are also clear about this. And at the micro level, we're beginning to see, clear evidence of progress. 2 years, we're talking midterm here. We're not talking 4 years yet. 2 years on, I think that, Mr. Rufai, I think we are citizens of Nigeria. And I think we all, no matter where we talk from or where we stand, we love this country. That's an assumption we must grant to everybody.
Okay.
This president, for example, could have said, what, I'm going to peg the Naira value to $1 to 1 Naira. And if I have 200 Naira in my pocket, all of a sudden I have $200. I can get on my phone and order something from Amazon or somewhere else, for a lot. But you know what? That will make him very popular.
Okay.
He has chosen to tackle the problems realistically rather than simply, take a shot at popularity like other presidents have done.
Okay, Mr. Moka, there were many things I talked about. I also talked about the lack of transparency in the coastal road. What would you say about a minister saying that a project was given to one contractor because of competence and not giving others the fairness of competitive bidding? Costing is another one that we've gone back and forth. And with due respect,
yes.
let me finish, Mr. Moka. You said the economy is good.
Sure.
At 25% inflation rate, World Bank projection of 37% inflation rate, things are bad. You said the economy is good. The economy that was handed to President Tinubu was over 200 billion. Today is less than 200, about 199 billion thereabouts. You said the economy is good. More people have jumped into poverty, have been swept into poverty. Inflation is real, and the social factors are not any better. Insecurity has had an uptick. These are also other facts on ground. So tell me, a government that didn't employ transparency, what would you have done for a bidding process for the coastal road? Would you have just given it to one person rather than calling others to at least have an open bidding? And the cost involved, these are the things we are saying. That's what a lot of people are saying.
Rufai, you see, I listened to part of your interaction with the Honorable Minister for what's His Excellency Dave Umahi. I listened to parts of that conversation, and he gave you his explanations for that. And I'm, not being the Minister of Works, I'm not going to sit here and, again, revisit a discussion you had with him. But he gave, in my understanding of your discussion with him, his explanation for how that process was determined. And, if there are, consequential issues you want to take up with him, please do. But as a citizen and listening to your discussion with him, I don't see what was, untoward for a program of that magnitude. You have said, even on that show, you acknowledge the size and the complexity of that road. I mean, this is one superhighway that we have not done and clearly have no experience of doing in the history of our country. So, again, officials who are appointed to, do job like the minister is, saddled with, They are the ones who must make decisions, and you have a right to, come to them with, criticism or observations about what they've done or how they have not done it. That's within your remit as well, as a citizen and as a journalist. I won't, say more on that. But the point is that I don't think there's a question as to whether or not the economy today is stronger than it has ever been. Everyone, all those who should know, are saying it in very eloquent, terms. Whether it's Modi, whether it's, all of the other rating agencies, globally, the World Bank, the IMF, everybody acknowledges. And locally, we're seeing that result. Look, Rufai, I think, let's not set ourselves back in conversation, looking at, framing these questions the way we are. We can say, look, we can acknowledge, we can, agree that things were really horrible and they're getting better, and that the markers look good. Yes, are we exactly where you and I would agree we need to be? I don't think, we can say yes. But we cannot decide that because there are challenges in the system, who said these problems were not created in 2 years? They have been with us for years. So when you want to eradicate poverty like Amechi and his friends, were saying the other day at Amechi's, former governor of Rivers State's birthday celebration, that the president was weaponizing poverty. That's just absurd. Like I said in my statement, 25 years almost, they didn't, eradicate poverty, and so I think it's unfair to expect this president in 2 years, in midterm, to eradicate poverty. That's really unconscionable.
Felix Maka,
to suggest.
Felix Maka, we need to go.
Sorry,
very
Doctor.
briefly,
Yes, Doctor.
in less than
Yes,
a
Doctor.
minute.
Yes.
Are you really confident, as the chairman of your party pointed out, that 2027 is a done deal for the APC? Because in your statement, in what every other member of your party has been saying, you guys are so dismissive of the opposition, the coalition, Professor Tomi's shadow government. It's like, 2027 is already here and APC is already back in power. Are you that confident that it's just a done deal, a walkover? Briefly, please.
Yes, Doctor. Look, it's not about confidence. It's not about walkover. Nobody is taking anything for granted. We're working hard to win the confidence of Nigerians and to win their support in the next election. But with a country that is over the last quarter of the 2024 that's growing at 4.6, when even some of the so-called richest countries of the world are growing under 1%. With trade surplus that no one denies in Nigeria, with fiscal viability of states, where state governments and local governments are getting more money to deliver services and goods, and with no alternative method to really heal this country. That birthday party by Rotimi Amechi, I'm sure, Dr. Abati, that you didn't come away with any specific suggestion or prescription for what, as alternatives for what this president is doing to what this president is doing. Dr. Abati, we are hopeful and we are going to work hard, even harder in the next 2 years, to justify the confidence that Nigerians have in our party. People are coming because they are confident that President Tinubu is on the right track. That's why they're joining our party, even though they like to say, we are simply, having a stick, beating them to join the party. We're not.
I get your point.
We're working hard to end that confidence.
I get your point.
And 2027 will come and we will see the outcome.
Yeah, this is also what we have always said on this table, that it's the people of Nigeria that should determine, not party chieftains saying it's a done deal, nobody can shake us. Let the people choose.